Welcome everybody to the Serpent Tarot for another pick a card reading. So today's pick a card reading, we're looking at what empowering messages are coming to you from your inner child. So these could be messages about dreams and ambitions that you've long held, that your inner child wants you to move forward with. It could be about healing from past traumas or issues from growing up or love. It could be from reconnecting to and recapturing joy in life, fun in life, communicating and connecting with others and so forth. And the inspiration for the reading came from just receiving via Kickstarter, a Kickstarter campaign that I backed, the Cute and Creepy Oracle, which is sort of like the sister deck to the Cute and Creepy Tarot, which anybody who's familiar with my channel will have seen a number of times. Done by Misha, whose amazing artwork I just absolutely love. And the minute that I saw that she was doing an Oracle companion to her tarot deck, I had to have it. So that, I think there is an energy with the Cute and Creepy Tarot and also with the Cute and Creepy Oracle, which links to the fantastical, particularly the Cute and Creepy Tarot. It has all these mythological and fairy story and monsters and so forth from different sorts of traditions, and she's recapturing their beauty. So it's a really lovely sort of energy that she has within her deck, and sort of like celebrating what is different and unique about people and so forth via the allegory of different sorts of monsters and mythological creatures and so forth. So I think that really touches upon that fantastical world that our inner child has and that we had as a child around believing in all sorts of fantastical creatures and so forth. So I felt that was therefore a wonderful inspiration for this reading, and what we will look at is what your inner child is wanting to say to you. So to help with the choice of reading, and as always you can go to more than one reading if you wish, the timestamps for the readings are in the description box below. We've got the numbers there for those who choose that way. There's 3 different readings. As I say, go to 1 or 2 or 3 if you wish. But what I've also got is that I shuffled and asked Spirit to intuitively draw out a card from the Cute and Creepy Oracle that most represented part of the message that your inner child wanted to bring to you. And there are 2 other cards, I don't know what they are, from the Oracle, plus some astrology cards to give us a sense about the areas in your life that these messages pertain to underneath these cards. But to see if this will actually help you choose, pile number 1 has mouth, and it says, speak your truth, don't stay silent. Pile number 2 has healing. It says, allow yourself the time to heal from physical or emotional hurt. And pile number 3 is about communication, better communication needed to help a situation. So if one of those sort of messages draws to you, then that may help you choose. Otherwise, maybe the imagery, or you may have some other way of choosing which reading or readings to go to. But when you know which one or ones that you want to go to, as I said, the timestamps are in the description box below, and I'll see you there. Welcome, pile 1, to your reading. So along with mouth, which is obviously about being able to speak your truth, be truly who you are, the other 2 cards from the Cute and Creepy Oracle are friendship. It says you need your friends, and home, which says home is where your heart is, but where is your heart? And the interesting thing is, this is all, I think, about being able to be true to yourself. Your inner child wants you to be able to speak your truth, to be honest about who you are, to find the right friends, the people who will accept you as you are, and to find a home in them, or to find a home, a place where you belong. There is something here that is deeply transformative and which you have held hidden for quite some time. A dream, an aspiration, an identity in some way. Something like that your inner child wants you to be able to express so that you can find your home, your people, your friends. Because with the 12th house here, this is saying that this is something you've kept very private for a long period of time. It's something very deep to you. And Pluto, it's like having Pluto in the 12th house. We have a real sense here about transformation at a very foundational level, possibly incredibly psychic as well. So this may be about finding your soul family, finding those that can take your true power and allow you to express it and allow you to feel okay. I do feel that for some of you, there may have been pain in your childhood. You maybe didn't feel like you belonged in your family. Even if you loved them, you may have felt a little bit detached. You may have very much connected with friends who were very different, maybe from different cultural backgrounds or different economic backgrounds. But something, whether it is in the home, whether it is being around friends that are more frenemies than friends, whatever it is, you were drawn whether it was the conscious choice or not, to mouth, to being able to speak your truth. And I do feel for you, this is a revolutionary act. So whether it is in friendships, whether it is in speaking your truth about love, whether it is speaking your truth about your identity, or whether it's something that is more political or a social cause or something, finding your people, finding those who are your friends through thick and thin, and also it's sort of ride or die type of energy here, but who will accept a major transformation in you is a key thing here. And your inner child wants to empower you in doing that, to say that, yes, I've been here all along, and I know where your heart should be, and I know who your true friends are, but it's time to sort of come out of the closet in a way. And I don't mean that necessarily in the classic way that people talk about it, though it could be for some of you, but I'm talking more about who you truly are, and it doesn't have to be about gender or sort of romantic preference. It could be anything. But this is very transformative. This is a very transformative period of time, and your inner child wants to help you with that. So let's see with tarot with a bit more information. So we're going to ask for a bit more about the messages that your inner child is bringing you. And then we're going to ask your inner child to talk about forgotten strengths that you have, and also what have you forgotten of your true power. So what messages does the inner child bring? What forgotten strengths will your inner child bring? But then what have you forgotten more generally about your true power? That's what I want to look at with this. So firstly, a little bit more about the message that your inner child is bringing you. Six of Cups reversed, Fool reversed, Five of Pentacles reversed, Nine of Pentacles reversed. There's a lot reversed here. High Priestess. Okay, firstly, there is a lot that you have suppressed at the moment, but your knowledge is there, your intuition is there. With it, as I say, it's like having Pluto in the 12th house, this energy, highly psychic, highly powerful on that level. Your inner child definitely wants you to tune into your intuition, because it's in that sort of private place that you will work out what you want to speak and who you want to be with and where your home is. You are definitely not meant to be alone, but you felt that you were going to be. This is a real yearning to find your people, your friends, your tribe. And it's almost as though your inner child is saying the only way you'll ever get that is by truly transforming and speaking your truth. I think for many of you, for whatever reason, whether it's around a workplace, whether it's in your family, whether it's around just the sort of cultural environment you've been in, you haven't been with your people. You haven't felt you could speak your truth. And in many ways, you thought that was pragmatic. You've maybe had an experience where you did try and speak up. Some of you may have tried to speak up in your home life and you got sort of shouted down. You may have been in sort of families where the truth was not necessarily something that should be spoken. Well, certainly not what you felt your truth was. And this goes deep. It goes right back. I know we're doing an inner child reading, so you would expect things like the Six of Cups to come up. But the fact that it's come up reversed here, it says that there was something that was suppressed early in life. And you went along with it because you didn't want to be alone. But inside, you knew this was not right. This was not what was key to you. So this is about you owning this intuition and owning this power that you have. Because as I say, it's significant in relation to sort of spiritual power. You're very advanced there, but I suspect you're not around other people who are. And you're meant to find the people who are. So let's ask, what are the forgotten strengths that your inner child is trying to remind you of now, pile one, to help you be able to speak your truth? Page of Swords reversed, the Chariot reversed, Knight of Cups, Eight of Swords. Okay. Whatever happened to you, some people did a number on you, I have to say. As I say, whether or not it was family, friends, the workplace you're in, something, you were not allowed to speak. You were not allowed to speak. And you may even still feel this now. You may feel if you do, you're going to halt progress. So if you're in a workplace, you might think, if I actually say what I think's going on here, then that may sort of stop me moving forward. You have such a beautiful open heart, though, that this is saying that the caring about the consequences on other people, actually, it's not so much actually even that your progress is going to be slowed by this. It's possible that by speaking your truth, your progress would be accelerated. But the problem is you care a great deal about people, and that is a beautiful thing, but it also traps you a bit. Your own caring. I think your inner child wants to say that is a strength, but you're actually using it to sort of like tie yourself up in knots so you don't speak your truth. How are you going to hurt somebody's feelings? Are you going to cause discord? I do think you may have been trained from quite young not to cause discord. Your beautiful open heart was either consciously or unconsciously exploited to be the one that was the peacekeeper. So that's there. And in not doing that, there is a considerable capacity to move into your future and your fate, but you're suppressing it. Your inner child wants you to know that very strength that allows you to be so silent is also the strength that would allow you to speak your truth. And that ultimately, if you wanted to be the open-hearted person and connect, that's what you're going to have to do. And it's almost damn the consequences. Because those that are meant to be with you will be happy that you've spoken. Those that are not, then they're not the people you're meant to be with. You don't feel at home wherever you are at the moment, but you do your best to make everybody else feel at home. And that slows you down. But you could speak your truth. As I say, you have great strength. Your inner child says, you have great strength. You dealt with this. You dealt with maybe feeling completely out of sorts in a family situation or a school situation, or many of you may have been bullied at school, actually. I wouldn't be surprised, because you're actually smarter or quicker or something. People were jealous. There's a kind of almost a jealous energy, or a keep you down, keep you suppressed with all these reverse cards. And you are so caring. But your inner child wants you to know that caring will also bring you your people, and it will bring you your home. You just have to know who they are. Rather than just feeling you just need everybody regardless and you've got to kind of tolerate everything, you've got to find where your true heart is. So, what have you forgotten of your true power? What does your inner child think is your true power that you've forgotten? So not just strengths, but the core of it. Page of Pentacles reversed. Ace of Swords. There it is. You see things differently. You're ahead of your time. You're highly intuitive. Really, you see the new long before other people. This is why it's hard sometimes to fit in. It's almost like you talk a language that is different to everybody else. And with the Hangman reversed, you can see all perspectives. This is a strength, as your inner child says. That very strength of that being able to keep the peace and everything will also help you navigate and find who you're meant to find when you do decide to speak. But you definitely can bring in the new and can see things differently to other people. And you can see where things are not on a solid foundation. So you would be the ultimate change agent in an organisation. Around friendships, you could see where there was or wasn't a congruence between what people were saying and what they were doing. It's the same thing in relationships and so forth. But your true power is that you are the true original. And that's why you have to speak your truth. Because how can you find your people? How can you be at home if you're constantly subduing your own originality and your different way of thinking to fit in? The only way you can get to what you want is to actually speak as you are. And as your inner child says, that beautiful open-heartedness will bring the right people. You just have to be prepared to lose those that aren't the right people, pile one. So, okay. Let's get you some help in doing it. So wanted to get some energies, a couple of archangels and also a couple of divine animals as sort of friends for your inner child to help you come into your truth and your power and your knowledge so that you do find your people. So archangels for you. Firstly, Zavkiel, motivation. Now this is interesting. Zavkiel, beautiful angel, eye of God, as it says, is connected to Saturn. Saturn is bringing things into being. Saturn is structure, but Saturn, as in all planets, has a light side and a difficult side. The difficult side can be getting constricted, and I think you have been constricted. I think in looking for some form of foundation and not wanting to be alone, you constricted yourself and your originality by trying to fit in. And that, of course, doesn't work in the end. So Saturn here is also about wisdom, to be able to see that what you want to do, you want to almost decalcify that so that you can actually get towards those that you are motivated to be with and are motivated to be with the true you. So Zavkiel will help you with that. And Zadkiel, forgiveness, okay, and that's Jupiter, okay. And you've actually, this is interesting because your inner child is actually showing you here that there's an internal battle for you as well as this one externally. You have an internal battle in a way between Saturn and Jupiter. Saturn and Jupiter are almost the opposites. Saturn, as I say, is about constriction, constraint, things taking time, things being very solid. Jupiter is about expansion, it's benefic, but it can expand too fast and it can go too quickly. So this is all about balance. Your inner child is trying to bring you balance here. And you may have to forgive some people. You may have to forgive yourself. Forgiveness does not mean if you are forgiving others that you have to stay with them if your tribe is elsewhere. But it is saying you have such a beautiful open heart, and if you're doing this and you don't want to hurt people, then you may have to break a few eggs to make the omelette, so to speak, but you can forgive the energies that push back. You can understand them because you have that wisdom, but you're meant to get this balance between expanding into who you are, but also giving it a sense of solidity so that you can feel at home and you can feel this is the place where I can move through time with my friends, where I feel at home. Okay, so let's also see what animals might have helped your inner child when you were in the sort of backyard as you were growing up and you're imagining being a lion or something like that. What animals are with you at this point? Pile 1. Wow, tarantula connection. Okay. So people often find like spiders and so forth a bit scary, but this energy, tarantula as an energy and as a power animal, is about connection, is about finding the right people. I do think it's interesting though, the way that this is being portrayed. It's like reaching out and finding it, but out of the cobwebs. So I think this is your inner child going, you're kind of in the cobwebs at the moment, but tarantula is here to actually free you from some of that so that you can connect with the right people. And jaguar, release, yeah. Then you're released. And then you have the power. And I sort of think the colouring is very similar there. This sort of sense of speaking your truth, coming into your power. You know, that jaguar is a very, very powerful feline animal. So the sense of being able to move forward, release that which isn't working and expand into Jupiter here. So I think this is interesting. I actually think Zavkiel is working with the tarantula to make sure that the longer term with Saturn connections are the right ones. And Zadkiel is releasing through forgiveness so that you can move forward. Okay, so let's also ask what your inner adult wants to say about this. And we'll look at it from both the divine feminine and the divine masculine point of view. So firstly, to get some idea from your divine feminine adult, looking at what your inner child is saying to you. Bastet. Bastet wants to have some fun. Bastet has a lot of psychic protection. You are very psychic, so you're psychically protected, and it certainly wants to say listen to your intuition, but you are meant to enjoy yourself. Life has been a little bit too serious for you, pile 1. So part of the thing in finding your friends is who do you actually really like being with? Not who do you feel you have to be with to keep up appearances or whatever, but who do you actually really enjoy? And Sophia, wisdom, connection to the divine feminine, Knossos. You're very spiritual. Like that high priestess is a very strong thing with you. So connecting into your inner light, your inner knowing, that will very much take you forward to who you should be. It's also why you can't stay in something that's false. In the end, you're going to have to do this. So let's see what energy is around the divine masculine as well of your inner adult. So it's interesting, your inner adult agrees with the inner child, wants to play a bit and has the wisdom to know how to do that. So you can feel confident about that. And then in terms of the masculine energy, we have Freya, lust, so the god of lust and passion and so forth. For some of you, this is about finding the right lover, I would have to say, and the right people and all that kind of thing, rather than who people think you should be with, but the ones that you're truly passionate about. But lust is broader than just that. It's also just the passion for life, the fun for life. The heart, where is the heart? Pile 1. And Pan, awaken here. For some of you, this is definitely actually going to be about not only finding your right people, but your right lover, I've got to say. That's very powerful in this, but you won't do it unless you speak up. Your inner child, it may well be your inner child has wanted you to come to this reading and is being a bit insistent because there is an opportunity for that. But if that's the case, I'd say it's someone very different to the sort of people you've been going out with or the people that your family would think you should go out or whatever. But who is awakening you? Who is making you feel vibrant and alive and sensual? And if it's not about love, but it's just about friendship or about a cause or something like that, there's a great creative energy here that you have the wisdom, if you just play a bit, that you can actually enjoy. Okay, so with those messages from your inner child and also your inner adult, I want to finish off with a fairy blessing. So what better for an inner child reading but to sort of also talk to the fae and ask them what blessing they could bring to your inner child that will help your inner child empower your inner adult to move forward with this message at this point in time. So for you, a blessing of a safe place in this world. How beautiful is that, pile one? I think this is a message all over. You have not felt safe or not felt at home, not felt at one, whether it was in your home growing up, whether it's school, as I say, if you were bullied, whether it's been in the workplace where you haven't fitted in or you've been bullied or it's very, very dictatorial, or whether it was even in love where you sort of found it hard to find the right person that you could really be true with and you kept sort of, subverting and sublimating your own energy to fit in and not be alone. Whatever this is, you are being brought safety. The Fae want you to know, and your inner child wants you to know, it's going to be safe. It's going to be safe to speak out, even if some people you have to forgive because they can't stay with you, they can't deal with that. You're going to find your people, you're going to find your friend, you're going to find your love, whatever it is that you're looking for. You just have to feel ready to speak up because your inner child is very beautiful and very caring, and you deserve to have that as well, pile one. So, and a safe place in the world. So I hope that message from your inner child was comforting and exciting and also inspiring. I hope you enjoyed it. If so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear about it. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, pile 2, to your reading. So along with the healing card that may have been what drew you to the reading are 2 other cards from the Cute and Creepy Oracle. So the healing one says, as I said in the introduction, allow yourself the time to heal from physical or emotional hurt. Interestingly enough, there's a very strong corollary to this message with the other 2 because we have poison, person or situation toxic for you, and rest, stop, rest, regain your strength. Then we have Capricorn in the 9th house to give us a bit of an idea about where and how this could be operating in your life. I do think that for most people it's in one of 2 situations. This doesn't feel like a love relationship because of these cards, though we will see whether something comes out that broadens the message of your inner child with tarot. But at this point, I feel as though this has something to do with the powers of the world and with the philosophy of the world. So I feel like there is a situation for most of you where either you are in a toxic situation that you need to rest and recover from in your workplace, and it has to do with your values of you, your inner child and so forth compared to the environment you're in, or possibly in an academic or learning or spiritual environment. So you could be in a very, say, spiritual group that's actually more about the money and the power and less about what it's truly meant to be. So some of you could be in a very toxic spiritual situation, or similarly maybe in an academic or learning environment where you are probably not, and your inner child is showing you this, going to be fairly treated. So there is a sense here for you, pile 2, about working out which of those applies and how to recover and retreat from that. And it may take some time to do it. This may be why it's saying that you need to rest and recover your strength, because if it's in any of those, particularly if it's academia and you're studying at the moment and you can't just walk away from the study, or if it's in a workplace and you've got to get another job before you can leave, it may be that it'll take a bit of time to be able to go through this healing. But your inner child wants you to know, if you've been feeling that, you're not wrong. There is something here that is not healthy for you. If it's a spiritual group, you may be able to leave more quickly. If it is a relationship, then there's a big power and what to believe in struggle going on here. Like almost with someone who doesn't so much want to be your lover as your guru. So again, there's this sort of, or your boss. So there's something like that if that's the case. But look, let's see if more comes up that suggests a relationship on that level. What we're going to do with tarot is we're going to ask firstly for a little bit more around the messages that your inner child is bringing. Then we're going to ask what forgotten strengths they are bringing to you. But also we'll ask, what have you forgotten of your true power as well? So firstly, a little bit more about the message that your inner child is bringing to you at the moment. The Chariot, the 9 of Swords, the Ace of Swords reversed, the 5 of Cups reversed, The Knight of Pentacles reversed. Okay, this doesn't look like it's a relationship reading. As I say, if more comes out that suggests it, I will say. But at this point, I think this is really, as I say, about either philosophies, academia, maybe spirituality, or work. There's certainly a sense where your inner child wants to say that either you are not dedicated to something and you're right not to be, or that you shouldn't be dedicated to something, even if you have to finish it. And I do feel like if this is around study or something like that, you may have to finish it, but there is a sense of not letting it take over too much in terms of anxiety. What your inner child is saying here is that you're absolutely right if you feel that the truth is being suppressed in this environment. You're absolutely right, but don't let it take you over. The Nine of Swords is always more fear than you need. So it's almost as though, if I took this as academia, and this is just one example of it, what it feels like to me is, doing either an undergraduate or a postgraduate piece of work, and you kind of know what you would really like to say, but you know that if you really said that, you're not going to get a good mark. So there's almost as though your inner child is saying sometimes you have to play the game because you don't want to get too engaged in this. If you try and take it on head on, you're just going to get hurt. But if you can almost detach yourself from this academically, mentally, and just write what you need to write to get the mark, but not put too much faith in it, that might be a way of dealing with it. Because you are meant to move forward. Your inner child is saying this is not meant to slow you down. And I feel they're just saying there's something about this where you may have to compromise a bit without feeling guilty or worried about it, because you're going to move forward, but not to stay loyal to this, not to sublimate your sense of feeling that this isn't right by almost just trying to force yourself to actually believe in it. It's more, how do you navigate this dissonance of belief? And if it is in a workplace, similarly, you are meant to get away from the emotional disappointment of this. You are meant to rest, but this is your inner child is saying this is a really tricky situation and it is toxic, but if you see it as a pit stop on your journey, not as the journey itself, you don't get too involved in it. You do what you need to do to navigate it, and you try not to get too emotionally involved. That's the best way to deal with it. See, that it's not a solvable situation, Paul, like if it's an academic environment, you might have a different viewpoint. You're not going to change the mind of the lecturer. They're just not going to, the professor or whoever. If it's in a workplace, you're not going to be able to change this workplace. All you can do is survive in it until you can move on. If it's a relationship, similarly, you're not going to change this person. And you do need to move on and not to be connected to it. And if it's a spiritual group, then again, they're not going to change. If you sort of move on, they're just going to go, you couldn't handle the energy or whatever. The thing about this, it's really interesting that in this deck, the Five of Cups is like a five-headed hydra. And the thing about hydras is that you chop off one head and another one grows back. So I just have this sort of sense of, you just need to recognize this is not a battle that you're meant to win so much. It's a time and a passageway. It's a transitional thing that you're meant to go through rather than get stuck in. And you will need to heal yourself because it is not a good situation overall. So let's ask what forgotten strengths your inner child wants to bring to you so that you can spend whatever time and as little time as necessary in this as you have to, and how to also keep resting and healing so that it doesn't get within. What strengths have you forgotten that your inner child wants to remind you of to deal with this? Queen of Swords, you're very smart. This environment, you're smarter than the environment, so don't worry about that, pile too. Six of Cups reversed. The Emperor reversed. The High Priestess. Okay, you're very psychic, very connected, and very smart. Like, this is a really ideal connection, particularly for dealing with whatever this is, because it's very material, as I say. This is academic, it's spiritual, it's work. You really understand it. You're smart. You're smarter than this environment, and you can deal with it, and intuitive. You are kind of the original triple threat, really, because you've also got the empathy, and so forth. You suppress that a little bit more, and that's probably wise. I think your inner child is saying that this sort of like nostalgic belief in what this was meant to be, you've kind of realized you need to protect your heart. Really intuitive, really smart. You don't have to wait. What your inner child is saying is, yes, there is something oppressive, there is something wrong in this environment, and whatever it is. But you get it, you see it, you're ahead of this. The Emperor reversed is doing this because they're stuck. It's like, if this is, as I say, this is academia, for instance, it's like the professor or whatever has probably been doing the same lecture for years, and like, probably their glory days are over, and they would potentially hold you back, but they can't, because you're onto it. You know what's going on. Your inner child says it's fine. You just need to not buy into the rubbish about it. Keep your heart a little bit protected. Then you'll be okay. You've probably always been ahead of people in positions of power. And like, if you found people who are authentic in their power and their knowledge, they wouldn't mind. They'd love the fact that you had these new ideas and you were really smart. But you're just around people who don't deal with that all that well. But your inner child wants you to know that you're more than a match, but they can still get into you. What this reminds me of actually a bit is that I've seen this happen in workplaces from when I did HR, where people sometimes decide they have to stick it out in a place just to prove, a kind of a toxic workplace, just to prove it. And eventually the system wins out against them, because that's the way the hierarchies work. This is why the Hydra is there. So this I would say to people sometimes, it's better to be looking, only stay as long as you have to. Find the place that's right for you. Don't feel you have to win this, because you're probably not going to win it. It's more that you win by understanding what it is and moving out of it. Okay, so let's ask, what have you forgotten of your true power? Page of Swords reversed, the World reversed, Eight of Wands reversed. So your true power is that you normally... Actually, no, this is a better way of putting it. You have a very good instinct for if you got stuck worrying about closure in something that wasn't working, it's actually going to slow you down. And you have a very good instinct for understanding when you're in a duplicitous environment. But you've almost forgotten this and this. What your inner child is saying, there's something about this situation, whether, as I say, it's academic, work, spiritual, or potentially a relationship, but I think in most cases it's more in one of those three former sort of areas. It's almost as though you've forgotten one of your great skills and powers is knowing when something is worth finishing and when it isn't, and not letting anything stop your pathway forward. When you need to suppress what you think to get an outcome, you can do it. And when sticking at something that isn't going to work is going to slow you down, you can realize it, but you've kind of forgotten that you've got caught up in this for some reason. This is why it's toxic. So whether it's someone is particularly needling you, or whether you feel that you have to prove something, your inner child wants you to know you don't need to prove anything, and that this environment is not worth it, to be honest. So, okay, so let's see what help we can get you. So what we firstly want to have a look at is some archangel energy and also some divine animal energy, because I want to draw on angels, your inner child's angels, and also I always think with children when they're playing out in the sort of parks and in the backyard and everything, they often think that they're various animals. There's a sort of really strong connection to your power animals, I think, when you're young. So we're just calling on those energies, angels and power animals as well for you around this situation. So firstly, archangels. Haniel, awakening. Venus. Okay, for some of you, maybe this is about love. It could be. It's not looking that, if it's about love, there's something, it's either in a workplace or it's in some group or something. There's something that's complicating it a lot if that's the case. And there's a lot of suppression of your energy, either by the person that you are in love with or by others around it who are trying to suppress it. So that's certainly the case. But I think for most, Haniel is here for you to awaken to what you want to do and what's in your heart, and protect your heart until you're able to move on, so that you can also heal your heart. And Haniel is very healing as well. Okay, and Metatron, connection. Okay, so yeah, you're smart. You're smart and you're very psychic. You're connected. You're really connected. This is supposed to be about your story. I just don't think your story fits this environment. I just think whatever it is, it doesn't. And I don't think you can instantly walk away, but I think that your inner child says that when you can, you should, and you shouldn't be hard on yourself for how you have to compromise or play the game until you can. You're not going to lose your connection. You are awakened in a way that the people around you aren't, but this is not the audience for you, I think. Okay, let's see what power animals are around you. Red Fox, strategy. Yeah, you've got to be strategic. I think for you, Pile, too, because you're very spiritual and you know who you are, and you're very smart, there's a sort of a side of you that may almost feel it's duplicitous to play the game. But I don't think you have a choice here. And you're not going to lose yourself in doing it. It's like I'm saying, like, in academia, sometimes you had to kind of say what your professor thought, because at the end of the day, to get to the point where maybe you could have more academic freedom, you had to prove yourself. And that would be part of it. And it wasn't even necessarily in doing that you were being duplicitous anyway, because to get the good mark, even with the answer, you had to be able to give a good argument. So looking at it a little bit strategically, I think, is a good idea. And Red Fox is here to help you do that. It also allows you, if you're a bit strategic, to be detached. It's easier to be around sort of potentially toxic environments and people if you're detached and you're seeing it a little bit like a chessboard. And we have chameleon change. So yeah, you are going to change, but until it's necessary, until you can, maybe it's necessary to be a bit of a chameleon, to be not seen entirely for who you are. But that's not bad. Don't feel guilty about it. This is about not letting the toxicity get in, and you will have the chance to heal after it. Okay, so let's have a little bit of a talk to your inner adult as your divine feminine and divine masculine energies around what this message is from your inner child. Ishtar, feminine power, sexuality, heaven on earth. So for some of you, maybe this is about a love relationship, as I say. Like, I think either it's a love relationship that at the moment it's not the right one and you need to find another. And this could be your inner child saying a better one is coming along. Just try not to get too overwhelmed by this current one. But I think it's more likely that, if there is sort of someone around, that you're in an environment where for some reason it would be not conducive to letting it grow. This is why you've got to think about changing your environment. But this is certainly saying that you have this great power within. Don't underestimate that. And, oh wow, St. Joan of Arc, courage, fearlessness, activism. Yeah, we'll see. That's interesting. Highly visionary, highly psychic. That fits. Very courageous. But you need strategy. I just feel in this situation, your inner adult wants you to know you have the power and you have the courage. That's not the point at the moment. The point is getting through this situation so that you can then really, really manifest this. There's something about this situation that if you kept at it and didn't close it out, it could actually overwhelm you. So you have to see that for all your courage and all your power, you have to also be able to heal yourself. And part of that is understanding some things are not worth finishing, not in its full sense. You might have to finish a degree or something like that, but this is a battle that is beneath you. That's what I think it's saying, Pile 2. You have bigger fish to fry, okay? So let's see what the divine masculine energy of your inner adult wants to say. That's interesting. This came up for another one, Freya Lust. So it's, for some of you, there is something about a relationship, but it's got to be the right relationship and in the right place at the right time. But it certainly would also be saying, what do you care about? How do you get back your zest for life? Because there's something about this environment that I don't think is conducive to that. And we get complete. Yeah. What does complete mean to you, actually? I think there's something about this complete, I think, in this environment, the best that you can hope for in completion in this environment is, say it's academia, it's completing your qualification so that you can then be more free about what you think. If it's in a workplace, it's completing a contract and moving on, or completing what you need to do before you can find the next job. There's something your inner child wants you to know about how toxic this situation is and how the battle is not worth it. It's beneath you. You have bigger fish to fry, as I say. So let's ask to complete the actual reading for a blessing. So I'm asking here for a blessing from the fairies, from the fae. As again, the kind of creatures and elements that connect with the inner child strongly. So a blessing from your inner child so that you can heal and detox and arise like the phoenix. When you are ready, turn that around and arise like the phoenix from whatever this situation is, Pile 2. So your blessing from the fae is... A blessing of a fairy guardian. Okay, that's lovely. So that's saying like there's something about the environment you're in. It's been saying it all along, but you are guarded. You are being looked after. And I think at the right time, the escape door will be there. And then you will be able to also rest, recover, and come back swinging for a new fight, a new cause that is worth your ability, worth your knowledge, worth your cleverness, worth your intuition, worth your magic, worth your courage, worth your power, that you can feel really alive in, and that you can feel that it is worth completing because it's of value. You have a guardian, a fairy guardian to watch over you, and your inner child wants you to know that, because it's tough. At the moment it's tough. I can't sugarcoat this, but I do know that you're strong enough, and I do know that you're going to rise from it. All I would want, and I think all your inner child would want, is that you don't stay in it any longer than is absolutely necessary, and that you don't tie your sense of self and power to winning here, because this is not ultimately winnable. You can strategically get what you need from it, but it's not ultimately winnable, pile 2, and that's not a measure of you. It's a measure of how toxic the situation is. So I hope that that resonates for you. I hope it was helpful. If so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd be fascinated to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, pile 3, to your reading. So along with communication, better communication needed to help the situation, which brought you to the reading, we also have wisdom that says the combination of knowledge, experience and intuitive understanding, and growth. Continue to improve yourself. And this is playing out in something to do with your values and your way of making money, status and who you are in the world, and of making that stable and a growth opportunity and healthy and sustainable for you. So I feel as though this is about personal growth. I think this is we have the growth energy of that, and also Virgo here. And I think it is about something that will make you money, status, be seen and so forth. And the wisdom is about understanding how much is your personal growth and how much is in collaboration and communication with others. It's interesting, when I see this card, I sort of feel I have a kind of, not exactly a sigil, it's not a sigil, but a kind of my thing instead of a photo is Mercury with an eye in it. And that is because ever since I was young, I use that symbol to represent seeing through communication, because Mercury is all about communication. And I sort of feel a similar energy in this. I feel like this is sort of saying there's something about your inner child has a great deal of wisdom, like you're an old soul, like your inner child was about 1052 the minute you were born. So, you're an old soul. But there's still growth. There's still things that you can do. Your inner child is hungry for growth and knowing more and so forth, and communicating wisdom and learning. So there's a kind of a lifelong learner sort of sense here, but you've already come in with a lot. And you're meant to make some money out of this, make some status out of it, maybe make a business out of it. So you could be meant to have some form of communication business or personal development and personal growth business, or maybe marrying that with spirituality. Many of you have come here, your inner child might be keen on you doing some sort of spiritual business, or at the very least using those sorts of things, great communication, great personal development, great wisdom, great intuition to make money and establish yourself within a career. There's certainly this sort of sense that you're meant to thrive, but it is through communication, it's through connecting with others. And it's possible that if you were drawn to better communication needed to help a situation, your inner child might be bringing this forward right now because you're in a situation where you're trying to figure out, how do I communicate this best? For some of you, as I say, you could be trying to start a business. How do you communicate and draw people in? How do you achieve growth for yourself and for others? You might be also thinking, I have much to share, but I'm not sure who my audience is. Who's going to align with my values? Who is going to benefit from and find a healthy sort of approach to things in what I do? And there's a lot of detail to be planned and communicated for the growth to be achieved with Virgo. Virgo is very detail oriented. So let's use tarot for a little bit more information. So we're going to ask firstly a little bit more about the messages that your inner child is bringing to you. Then what forgotten strengths does your inner child bring to you or remind you of? And then what have you forgotten of your true power? So firstly, a little bit more about the message from your inner child. Strength reversed. 5 of Swords reversed, the Fool, King of Pentacles reversed, Nine of Wands reversed. Okay. So Nine of Wands reversed is interesting because it's sort of like careful energy, needing to be careful in the environment you're in. So I would think that this is, you are trying to work out how do I express this in a way that people will understand. You have a great deal to bring to people and you will grow with it and so will they in whatever this situation is. But it's new. You're wanting to do something new and it's something materially new, I think. You want to know how to express it. You're not really sure because I think it will somehow tilt at the current world order into some other sort of world order and whatever that means in your life at this point in time. So it's something you really care about and you're not going to give up, but you feel also, am I strong enough? Am I ready enough to do it? So for some of you, you may have already tried to change something in an environment that was resistant to change. And it has taken a bit of a toll from you, but you're not going to give up. And I think your inner child doesn't want you to give up because you are meant to take yourself and others into a growth phase. But it's like you're in an environment that has lost its sight of growth and it doesn't really want to hear the different wave. It's very touchy. So this sort of feels like a work environment or a friendship environment. Could be a family environment too. There could be some, you could want to take a direction very different to what your family want you to take. And you're having to be very careful about that. But your inner child's agreeing with you, don't give up. You are meant to be on this journey. But there's something about who do you take with you and how do you communicate? And you're being probably overly careful at the moment around that. So let's see what your inner child wants to say about what forgotten strengths you have that could help you, sort this communication thing out because you've got a lot to offer here. A lot to offer and you're meant to be rewarded for it as well. Five of Pentacles reversed. The Tower. Wow. Okay. Justice. King of Swords. All right. Okay. So you are a very good communicator. You are. You're probably holding some of that back in the environment you're in at the moment. There's big change. What you're bringing in is very big change. It's got a lot of balance to it, but it's very intellectual. So there's possibly something in this. It's like an idea that you have that you could communicate very well, but you kind of need to also understand people feel insecure around this. So you could be a change agent coming into an organization and you make people feel insecure and they push back around it because it feels like everything's going to collapse out from under them. But in actual fact, you've got that all sorted. You've got the strategy. You know how to turn this into growth. You've got the details. Like you're very detail oriented. Your inner child really likes that. Says, you knew you probably were able to win any sort of game really early because you really see the details. You see the patterns and you've brought in a lot of wisdom. One of the things you have to be aware of, though, is with sort of the court cards in the sword thing, is that often that is being ahead quicker than other people around. So there's wisdom. How do you turn that into growth? How do you bring people with you? Because it may be that you seem to go so fast and like what you're doing is so consequential that people kind of gather together and push back. You're very, very strong on what is right too. You very much connect what you want to do materially with your values. So that may be part of the message. It's like how to really show this isn't just a new idea. This is really, really firmly rooted in strategy and values, and it will bring growth to everybody, even if it feels like everything could fall apart. Almost like bring some of that intellect to a risk management discussion so that people feel more comfortable in whatever way this operates. But your inner child says you have right on your side. You have right on your side and you know the new is necessary. Something needs to shift. Something needs to shift. So let's see, what have you forgotten of your true power that your inner child wants you to remember? Eight of Cups. Two of Swords reversed. The Sun reversed. So you suppress quite a bit of your real power. Actually, and that's important with Virgo, with the harvest, with growth. Your inner child wants you to realize that when you suppress your life path, when you suppress the new things that you're meant to be doing, when you suppress some of your wisdom to fit in so that people don't feel overwhelmed, then things can't grow because without the sun, the harvest can't come in, the growth can't come in. So don't forget that it is your sun, your life path, your power that actually brings the growth. So don't let the pushback and the environment stop that. You've forgotten how how nourishing you are. This is like the second house and Virgo. You're very nourishing. So whether this is a relationship, friendships, family, career, you kind of dimmed your life quite a bit and therefore not made the decisions. You've got very, very good at walking away from things when they don't work. So you've got the wisdom to know when something is not going to be a winning proposition. But what you've almost done is got so good at that you haven't made the decisions when you can actually really take something through to growth. So this is about I think it's about bringing the intuition as well and the life path and Virgoan sort of things. What would make something healthy? What would make something grow? That's the important question for you, I think, at this point. So let's get you some help. So firstly, I want to get some archangel energy and also some divine animal energy, because I think angels and power animals are close to children and close to the inner child. You know, when you're a child, you're always thinking, as I say, of those fantastical and also sort of spiritual, mythical, and our animal familiars and so forth. It's very powerful when you're young. So let's see the energy that's around you now to help you with this, to get to this growth potential that your inner child wants you to remember and take on. So we've got Raphael, healing. So you may need some healing from this. As I say, maybe you felt misunderstood. You haven't felt like your strength. Maybe you felt it was literally being sapped by this. You couldn't grow. How could you grow? It was hardly, you weren't feeling really sort of nourished within yourself. So I think Raphael is bringing that. And Raphael is connected to the sun, bringing back that sense of your true purpose. And Raziel, mysteries, yeah, and they're sort of like psychic. This is the wisdom. Neptune, the wisdom. So Raphael is saying the first point of healing, so that you can communicate in a way that brings growth, is to remember your life path. Then Raziel is here to bring you the mysteries, the sort of psychic energy, all of that kind of stuff, so that you can make the connections, because it's almost like you've been doing it more through your mind. But if you connect into your intuition as well, that will smooth this way. There's something just a little bit too quick about what you're saying, and I think people are finding it hard to keep up. So I think Raziel will take you back into your intuition and balance that more. Let's see what divine animals, power animals are around you as well. Horse, freedom. Okay. For some of you, to follow your life path and to grow, you may have to leave a situation that is just not going to understand you. For others, it's maybe the freedom to speak. Once you've got these things in balance, what you really want to grow and who you really want to be with your intuitive understanding, it brings a freedom of communication that helps. Horses are very powerful too, and they take you places. So you're meant with the full energy to be going places. With the second house, you're meant to be achieving things. And then we also get armadillo, groundedness, yeah, and to keep you grounded and to make sure that what you do can actually be brought into being. And armadillo, I always think, brings a kind of a shield. So if you're dealing with people who don't understand, or an environment that is not going to be fully open to what you say, the armadillo, gives you the shield from that. And see how the sun is there again? There's something about the sun with you. I mean, everybody's sun is important in their chart because it's what it's our life path. It's what we're developing into. But I think the sun is really powerful. Some of you might be coming close to your birthday, so having a solar return. Or the aspects, the planets that aspect your sun in your chart may be particularly important for how you actually manifest in the world. Or you might have the sun in the second house potentially, in which case your life path is towards making money and status and all of those things, but in connection to your ethics and so forth. Okay, let's have a look at what your inner adult wants to say. So your inner child has been telling you that you can communicate with the right people in a way that grows, particularly if you listen to your intuition, so that you don't dim your light, because you're meant to bring in something new. That's basically what your inner child is saying. So let's see your inner adult from the divine feminine and divine masculine point of view with what they would add to the story. So firstly, the divine feminine. Green Tara, protection, enlightenment and liberation. It's interesting, similar colouring there for Raphael. This is all about growth. Some of you may be in causes to do with the environment, or you might love gardening, or there's something about growth, green energy, being out in nature. All of those things will help you. And the Black Madonna, Cosmic Mother, the beginning, the void. This is the mystery. Okay. So, this is telling me something else. This is why we've got the growth and the wisdom and the communication. Some of this is also about you communicate, your own inner child communicating with its two sides. One side is very much about the material world, about nature, about Gaia, about all of that sort of stuff. What you can see, feel, taste, touch, all of that kind of thing. The other side is highly intuitive, and this brings sort of cosmic energy, the void, the beginnings. The beginnings come out of the intuition. The Fool comes out of the intuition. But the strategy and the Sun is about what you grow. So this is also your own inner child talking to itself. It's two sides. It's not just, so it's almost like as within, so without. So if you are finding it hard to find your people and your message and to have the growth externally, it's like balancing those things internally. Your inner divine feminine is saying it's all within you. Once you balance it internally, and you're clever and balanced enough to do this, then you'll get back on the path of your Sun. So let's see what the divine masculine wants to say. Create. Okay, so there's something creative in this. Growth, creativity. Could be anything, as I say. It could just be a veggie garden out, in your sort of backyard to sort of like bring in sort of growth and nourishment for yourself. But there's something about bringing creative energy in. And Pan, awaken. Yeah, very, very much of the natural world. If any of you, this is more around a relationship, and I think in most of the cases, this is more about your internal inner child relationship and also maybe dealing with other people for how you make money and status. That's the primary thing. But if for any of you that it is about relationship, if relationship growth, personal development growth, supporting people in that way, and you're all kind of almost walking the talk through your own relationship, then you are really meant to awaken this sort of sense of growth and creativity and all of those sort of things, not to dim your light in any way. Okay, so pile 3, what we want to finish up with is just a blessing from the Fae, because I feel like the fairy folk, the Fae, were also a very good sort of like energy, sort of, fits with the fantastical that the inner child connects to. So we're asking for the Fae for a blessing to your inner child, to the message that they're bringing you today. I think about your own internal balance of your wisdom and your practicality for your own personal growth and life path, and also how that then connects out to better communication with others to achieve what you want and to create what you want in the world. So let's see what the blessing of the Fae is for you. A blessing of the Seelie. So this is like, in a sense, this is a very powerful blessing. This is a blessing of being welcome to the Seelie court, which is the Seelie, the very positive, the very growth-oriented, the very beautiful and caring sort of side of the Seelie and Unseelie court. So this fits with Black Madonna, it fits with the wisdom. This is a very strong indication from the Fae that you are very psychic, that you are recognized as being very much that, and that therefore you have a lot to bring to the world and a lot to communicate with the world. So as I said, you're like a gazillion years old in terms of your soul. You've got really, really strong intuition. The Seelie Court want to connect you with that, and they recognize you. You're recognized, if that makes sense. You're recognized in the liminal spaces. You're recognized in the occult spaces. And understanding that and seeing how you can, on a very magical level, like there's something very magical about you. It's like you really can bring in this wisdom, and then you really can create and manifest in the world. But it's almost like you've been having an argument with yourself about it, and that somehow then manifest also, because you're a manifestor, it's manifested in the environment you're in. If you can bring that balance in and understand why you're recognized and blessed by the Seelie, then what you create will also be accepted and followed and seen in a more clear way by other people. So I hope that resonates for you, pile 3. I hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings.